Afternoon, guys. I'm Dave Canterbury with Self-Reliance Outfitters in the Pathfinder School, and I drove up here on a hill to set up a camp for the night with the rooftop tent here on Thumper. And we're going to set up a radio station today. I recently got my general ticket, in case anybody's keeping track of that. I got my technician license for ham radio about a month and a half ago, something like that, and I started studying immediately for my general so that I could get on the UHF bands. And I bought an ICOM 7200 base unit, which is pretty portable. I'm going to get a smaller unit that I can use for a portable unit, but this is working good for right now. It's the ICOM 7200. And I've been getting to know this radio a little bit, and I've got an antenna here called the Buddy Pole Pro. And I'm going to kind of walk through my setup of this with you today. Again, I'm just learning. So these radio type videos are a learning experience for me because the comments that you guys give me back help me to understand things that I may be missing. So if you're a ham radio already, or if you're a ham already, and you see something that I'm doing wrong or something that I could do better, please let me know. Meantime, let's take a look at this Buddy Pole antenna because it's a very compact antenna that will cover multiple bands. And that's what's important about this. If you're trying to be portable, you want things to be small so that if you have to walk away from a vehicle with a backpack, you can still do that and get on the UHF bands. And that's what this antenna is going to come in real handy for when I get my ICOM 705. That'll be here next week sometime. It's a really small UHF radio, but for now we're going to get to know the 7200. Let's look at this antenna, guys. Stay with me. Okay, so inside you have coax cable and you have the antenna. Basically you have the loading coil here that you tap for different frequencies. We'll talk about that in a minute. You have whips and extensions for that. You have the tripod legs. You have one resonator that goes off to the side. Resonator is probably not the word for that. It's a radial that goes off to the side. We'll talk about that too. And then you have the Versa hub, which is kind of between that and the coil. These are kind of the meat and potatoes of the whole thing. Your coax cable plugs into this from your radio. The antenna plugs in here. And that's what enables you to be able to switch different bands with this antenna to make it very multifunctional in nature in a small package. So let's kind of look through this and walk through putting it together, see what we can do on 20 meters. Okay, so there's 3 legs in this pouch for this tripod. And they're very much like tent poles made out of a plastic fiberglass type material. Not exactly sure what they're made out of, but they're pretty robust. And they go together just like a tent pole, as in they just slide together with a piece of shot cord. The unique thing about these is that they have a toggle. You know how much I love toggles here on the front. And you turn that toggle sideways in the slot. There's a slot in there. And you turn it sideways and stand it up. And when you push it through the antenna base, let me get that thing squared up on there. When you push that thing through the antenna base, you just pull it up and switch it sideways, and it sets into a saddle right there, and that gives you one leg of your tripod. And you assemble all 3 exactly the same way, and then it has a rubber bumper on the bottom of it. Okay, the next thing that you're going to want to do is you're going to want to tap this coil, at least for the band that you plan on using. And you can tap different bands on here so that you can switch it back and forth while you're operating if you want to. For today, we're just going to use the 20 meter band. And the 20 meter band, if I remember right, is blue in color on the sheet. So we're going to use the blue peg to annotate that, or the blue tap, just so that we stay consistent with things, because later on you're going to see that there is a blue piece of shrink tubing on this radial that tells you the length you're supposed to pull that radial out to. Now, the coils are counted so that when you put this in and tap it with this wire, it basically shorts it out so that the rest of the coils are not in play. So according to the paperwork, and I'll put the sheet up for you here, we're going to use all of the extensions and the whip fully extended. We're going to use the coil tapped at 13 coils down. And they've got this set up pretty cool because there's marks on here in paint every 5 coils. So it's very easy to start from the top and go down and say that's 5, that's 10. And for the chart, we want 13 coils down to start off with. So if we say 5, 10 and count down 1, 2, 3 more, that's where we're going to tap it. And you have a small L-shaped hook on here that goes, oh, we're not tapping the 13th coil there. Got to be careful with that. It's going to mess up your whole system. I'm going to unscrew that just a little bit to give us some space to get in there. 10. There's the 13th coil. We just fold that up inside, and then we that L just folds up inside there just like this, and then you tighten this down to lock it into that coil. As you tighten this down, it will lock in place. And what that does, allows you to plug into it with this banana connector to basically lock out all the other coils and only use the coils that it wants to use. In this case, it's probably locking out these coils and utilizing these coils, since this is tapped all the way to the bottom. That's my guess. I don't know that for sure. Somebody can tell me if I'm wrong. But tapping this does remove one side of this either way to only use the amount of coils you need for the frequency that you're using. Then you just plug this into the antenna or into an extension, plug everything on top of that like the whip, extend it fully, and then you're ready to put the radio on. Now I'm going to screw this coil directly into the tripod. You could screw one or both of these extensions on here first and put the coil on top of that. I don't think that configuration makes much difference. But the higher you get this in the air, if you're fairly height challenged like I am, I'm only 5'8", it's more difficult if I want to tap other coils to reach up that high. So I'm going to put this right here at base level so it's easy for me to get to, right at chest level. And then I'm going to put the extensions on top of that, both of them and the whip. Now it says on the chart to use both extensions with this and fully extend the whip. So I'm just going to pull it out a section at a time, and it's just like a normal antenna, extendable antenna. And then I'll put this on the second section I've got on top here. Now this kit comes with an eye bolt, and that eye bolt screws into the bottom, and that's a standard thread size for any camera tripod. So if you buy this kit, you can buy it without these legs and just plug this Versa hub onto the top of a camera tripod to create this tripod. The reason this eye bolt's in here is so that you can hang something heavy from the middle of the tripod in case there's high wind. Now the last piece of this puzzle is we have a radio here, which is a piece of wire that's going to go horizontal to the ground. It needs to be at least 2 feet off the ground. And it's got colored coax on it. I'll get to a piece of it here and I can show you, for the different meters. Let's see, there's one right there. There's a gray one right there. So whatever band that would correlate to, that's as far as you would pull this radial out before you would stop unwinding wire. And I'm going to use just an electric fence stake that's made out of plastic to keep this thing a couple feet off the ground. I saw a guy on video do that the other day. I thought that was pretty cool. But if you didn't have a truck or something to transport this stuff in, you could just use a stick or a hiking pole or anything like that. So we take this radial and we have a nut down here that we're going to put it over the top of, just like this. And once we get that assembled, I didn't leave myself a lot of room in there putting that coil right on top of it like that, but I can still get it on there easy enough. Once we get that portion assembled, now we're ready to, I'm going to lock this off so it can't unwind. But now we're ready to take this to the location we're going to put our antenna. And we just have to make sure, A, we have enough room to run this out and keep it 2 feet off the ground, and enough coax cable to get back to our radio. Those are the two key elements there. This comes with a really nice coax that has a BNC connector to UHF here, which fits my radio perfect, and a BNC style connector here that connects to the Versa hub. And there's about 25 foot of cable here, so we can get 25 feet away from the vehicle, which is good with this coax cable. Okay, so you can see I've got my coax hooked up and my radial is over here, so I'm going to run the radial out that direction. And I've got about 25 feet away from my overhang that I'm working underneath my truck. And I got my stake here to hang that radial on top of. Okay, so you can see I'm out to the blue shrink tubing here. Now, most of the videos I've watched about this antenna, people have had to take just a little bit in. So I'm going to go half a wrap backwards from that blue. And I'm going to hang that right on this plastic electric fence post. That's going to give me about 3 feet off the ground, and the minimum is 2 feet. So I should be good. Now we're ready to turn the radio on.
Route 66 on the air, W6H, Whiskey 6 Hotel.
I got this guy loud and clear, 5x9 on my radio, and I cannot contact him. I think I've got my antenna squared away. I was one coil off. I don't have an antenna analyzer yet, Working on that next.
Whiskey 4 November.
Kind of flying by the seat of my pants at the moment. But man, the signals are coming in a lot clearer since I made a couple adjustments. But I'm still not getting out. I just turned my wattage up to 100 watts output.
November Hotel Kilo.
I still can't get to the sky.
Bill to Mexico. All that work and you're a Duke here on 20 meters, November Delta Kilo. Thanks, Whiskey 6 Hotel. Route 66 on the air, W6H, Whiskey 6 Hotel.
Whiskey 6 Foxtrot Alpha.
Whiskey 6 Foxtrot Alpha, 59, Bill to Mexico.
QSL 59, Bill, near Lake Tahoe.
Roger, Bill.
California.
Thanks, Whiskey 6 Hotel.
Killing it for getting signal in.
Whiskey 6 Hotel. I lived on the shore of Lake Michigan at Empire when I was stationed at that radar site. Thank you, Route 66 on the air, W6H, Whiskey 6 Hotel. David.
Okay, so I just made my first 20-meter contact on the Maritime Network. Turn these guys down a little bit so you can hear me. My first QSO was on the Maritime Network check-in on 14,300, 20 meters.